Revelation chapter 9 continues the description of the apocalyptic events triggered by the blowing of the 7 trumpets. In this chapter, the 5th and 6th trumpets are sounded, unleashing terrifying judgments upon the earth. These judgments involve demonic forces and widespread destruction, emphasizing the severity of God's wrath during the end times. Below is a detailed breakdown of the chapter. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. Revelation chapter 9 is a vivid and symbolic description of 2 of the trumpet judgments that occur during the end times. These judgments unleash terrifying plagues upon the earth, with supernatural forces causing immense suffering and destruction. This chapter continues from the previous chapter, where the first 4 trumpets were sounded. Now, the 5th and 6th trumpets are blown, revealing even more intense and terrifying judgments. Here's an in-depth exploration of Revelation chapter 9, expanded into approximately 2,000 words. The 5th trumpet, the locusts from the abyss. Revelation chapter 9 verses 1 to 12, the star fallen from heaven. Verse 1, the chapter opens with the 5th angel sounding his trumpet, which triggers a vision of a star fallen from heaven to earth. This star is not a literal celestial body but rather a symbolic representation of a being, most likely a fallen angel. The use of the term fallen suggests this being has already experienced a fall from grace, perhaps alluding to Satan or one of his demons. This being is given the key to the shaft of the abyss, also known as the bottomless pit, indicating that God still exercises control over the forces of evil, allowing this event to unfold according to his divine plan. The opening of the abyss. Verse 2, when the star uses the key to open the abyss, thick smoke rises from it, darkening the sun and the sky. The imagery here is apocalyptic and foreboding, signifying the unleashing of a great evil upon the earth. The smoke is not just a physical phenomenon but also represents the spiritual darkness and chaos that is about to be released. The sun and sky, which symbolize light, order, and the natural order of things, are obscured, indicating that the world is about to be plunged into a time of great tribulation and confusion. The locusts emerge. Verses 3 to 6, out of the smoke come locusts upon the earth. However, these are not ordinary locusts. They are described as having the power of scorpions to sting and torment. These locusts are given specific instructions not to harm the grass, plants, or trees, which are the usual targets of locusts, but only to afflict those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. This seal likely refers to the protective mark given to the faithful servants of God mentioned earlier in Revelation chapter 7. The torment inflicted by these locusts is intense and lasts for 5 months, which is the typical lifespan of locusts. The pain is likened to the sting of a scorpion, which is excruciating and causes great suffering but is not fatal. The afflicted will seek death as a release from their suffering, but death will elude them. This period of torment is a time of unimaginable agony, where the natural desire for death as an escape from pain is thwarted, adding to the psychological and physical torment. The appearance of the locusts. Verses 7 to 10, the locusts are described in detail, and their appearance is both bizarre and terrifying. They resemble horses prepared for battle, indicating their readiness for destruction and their swift, relentless nature. They have crowns of gold on their heads, symbolizing authority or victory, perhaps indicating that they have been given a temporary dominion over the earth. Their faces are like human faces, which could suggest intelligence or a perverse imitation of humanity. Their hair is like women's hair, and their teeth are like lions' teeth, combining elements of beauty and ferocity, further heightening their terrifying nature. They also have breastplates like those made of iron, indicating their invulnerability and the futility of trying to resist or destroy them. The sound of their wings is like the thundering of many horses and chariots rushing into battle, emphasizing their number, power, and the overwhelming force with which they descend upon the earth. Their tails are like scorpions, and with them, they can sting and torment for 5 months. This combination of features makes them a fearsome and unstoppable force of destruction. The king of the locusts. Abaddon. Verse 11, the locusts have a king over them, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek is Apollyon, both of which mean destroyer. This being is likely a powerful demon or fallen angel, possibly Satan himself or one of his chief agents. The naming of this being underscores the destructive nature of the judgment being unleashed. The fact that this is the first of 3 woes to come, as indicated in the preceding chapters, suggests that the judgments will become progressively more severe. The first woe is past. Verse 12, The passage concludes by stating that the first woe is past, but 2 more woes are still to come. This ominous warning indicates that the suffering experienced under the 5th trumpet is just the beginning, and even more dreadful events are yet to unfold. The 6th trumpet. The release of the 4 angels and the army of horsemen, Revelation chapter 9 verses 13 to 21. The 6th trumpet and the voice from the altar, verse 13, when the 6th angel sounds his trumpet. A voice is heard from the 4 horns of the golden altar that stands before God. The altar likely represents the altar of incense mentioned earlier in Revelation, which is associated with the prayers of the saints. The fact that the voice comes from this altar suggests a connection between the prayers of the faithful and the unfolding of God's judgment. This voice commands the release of the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. The 4 angels released, verse 14, these 4 angels have been bound, indicating that they are fallen beings, possibly demonic entities. Their release is a significant event, as they have been kept in check until this precise moment in God's plan. The river Euphrates has historical and symbolic significance in biblical prophecy, often representing the boundary between Israel and its enemies, as well as the site of past judgments. The release of these angels signifies the unleashing of a great and devastating judgment upon the earth. The army of horsemen, verses 15 to 16, the 4 angels are released to kill 1/3 of mankind. They have been prepared for this exact hour, day, month, and year, highlighting the precision of God's judgment and the fulfillment of his prophetic timeline. The number of mounted troops accompanying these angels is described as 200 million, a number that is symbolic of an overwhelming and unstoppable force. The sheer size of this army suggests a global scale of destruction and the inevitable suffering that will follow. The description of the horsemen, verses 17 to 19, the horses and their riders are described in apocalyptic terms. The riders wear breastplates that are fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. Colors associated with fire, smoke, and brimstone, which are elements of divine judgment. The horses have heads like lions, symbolizing their power and ferocity, and they breathe out fire, smoke, and sulfur. These 3 plagues, fire, smoke, and sulfur, kill 1/3 of mankind, adding to the devastation already caused by the previous judgments. The horses' tails are like snakes, having heads with which they inflict harm. This imagery combines the destructive power of a lion with the deadly cunning of a serpent, making these creatures instruments of both physical and spiritual torment. The description emphasizes that these judgments are not just natural disasters but are divinely orchestrated events that serve a specific purpose in God's plan for the end times. The response of mankind, verses 20 to 21, despite the immense suffering and loss of life, the survivors of these plagues do not repent of their sins. They continue to worship demons and idols made of gold, silver, bronze, stone, and wood, idols that cannot see, hear, or walk. This stubborn refusal to turn away from false gods highlights the depth of humanity's rebellion against God, even in the face of overwhelming evidence of his power and judgment. Moreover, the people do not repent of their murders, sorceries, sexual immorality, or thefts. This list of sins reflects the moral degradation and spiritual corruption of the world in the end times. The refusal to repent suggests that these judgments are not merely punitive but also serve to expose the hardened hearts of those who reject God. The persistence in sin despite such catastrophic judgments underscores the tragic reality of human depravity and the ultimate justice of God's final judgment. Theological significance of Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 is a sobering reminder of the reality of divine judgment and the consequences of rejecting God. The chapter depicts a world under siege by supernatural forces, where humanity is confronted with the terrifying reality of God's wrath. The imagery of locusts, scorpions, and a massive army of horsemen is symbolic of the intense spiritual and physical suffering that will occur during the end times. The release of the locusts from the abyss and the subsequent torment they inflict serve as a vivid illustration of the consequences of sin and rebellion against God. The fact that only those who do not have the seal of God are affected highlights the protection and preservation of the faithful, even in the midst of judgment. This theme of protection and judgment runs throughout the book of Revelation, emphasizing the importance of faithfulness to God in the face of trials and tribulations. The refusal of mankind to repent, even after experiencing such devastating judgments, speaks to the hardness of the human heart and the depth of spiritual blindness. This unrepentant attitude is a key theme in Revelation, reflecting the stubbornness of those who reject God and continue in their sinful ways despite the clear evidence of His power and sovereignty. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.